What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Chicky Jim at Full Grip Games. Today I'm going to be showing off two different Malamar decks in standard format. Malamar has been a mainstay since its release in Forbidden Light. It's one of the best energy accelerators in the game and gets a lot of new tools with the release of Sword and Shield. Its ability, Psychic Recharge, reads once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. A great energy accelerating ability and a bunch of different attackers that you can pair with it, especially in this new standard format we have ahead of us. There is the more GX-oriented Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck, which has been picking up steam at the end of Cosmic Eclipse format, heading into Sword and Shield. It gets a lot of new tools, especially with the release of Quick Ball and Professor's Research, making the deck even more consistent, and of course Marnie being able to limit the opponent's hand size to 4 and then copy the attacks of Trevenant and Dusknoir's Night Watch to be able to limit them to just a 2-card hand very easily. There is, of course, this version of Malamar, which has been picking up steam lately, and then the more traditional Malamar build, which I'll be going over as well, focusing more on non-GX attacks and, of course, some Pokemon V and GX sprinkled throughout. First, let's talk about the Mewtwo and Malamar. Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX version of Malamar, because this deck just seems to be really popular right now. It was getting results in Japan, and those results have been translating to the United States at the end of the Cosmic Eclipse format, and I think this deck has a lot of promise. The goal is to use Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX and a ton of search cards to set up explosively a thin Malamar line just to keep enough energy on the Mewtwo and Mew to perform the attacks you need to finish the game off. Usually you're going to be copying attacks like Horror House GX early on. Horror House is an incredible attack to start the game off because of your ability to swing the momentum of the match. Starting off with a turn 1 Horror House GX, if your opponent went first, it means they were not allowed to play a supporter on the first turn of the game. You can go in with a turn 1 Horror House GX. Your opponent cannot play any cards from their hand. Usually it just results in a pass, and then go into the next turn with a powerful Marnie and then Night Watch, which can limit your opponent to a 2-card hand. So not only do you get to play 2 supporters to set up before your opponent gets to play any, but you also limit them to a 2-card hand to play out of while dealing 150 damage, which can be very devastating for the opponent trying to set up, and a strong way to start out any game. Horror House GX has proven time and time again to be absolutely amazing. Even if you go first, a turn 1 energy drop on a Mewtwo and Mew can lead to a turn 2 Horror House GX with 2 energy, which is great for consistency, filling your hand to 7 cards, and then your opponent does the same, which means that they probably have a lot of trainer cards in their hand, and you can just bring something up with Great Catcher and eliminate it from play if they've got enough trainer cards in their hand with that Poltergeist attack, which just costs 2 Psychic Energy. So I really like that little 1-2 punch you got there with the Gengar and Mimikyu and the Trevenant and Dusknoir. The rest of the cast just kind of fills the gaps. You've got Latios-GX, which is great for Tag Purge in a pinch if you're up against Tag Team Pokemon, but also Clear Vision GX can be very good against Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia decks. Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff's Jumping Balloon attack is phenomenal against Pikarom. Pikarom will very regularly get 3 Pokemon GX into play, and for just 3 energy, being able to knock out a Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX with ease is also very good. Naganadel GX with the Venom Shot attack can do 170 damage snipe to anything on the bench, so it's great. We've got the 2 Great Catchers to bring up Pokemon GX, but of course there's powerful new Pokemon V now, non-GX Pokemon you're going to want to be able to deal damage to on the bench, and Naganadel GX fills that role very nicely. Ultra Necrozma GX's Photon Geyser gives this deck its much needed one-hit KO potential, being able to deal upwards of 300 plus damage with enough Psychic Energy attached. And of course we've got the Aurora Energy to fulfill the metal requirement there. Aurora Energy is great in this deck because a lot of times you're going to want to not only discard Psychic Energy to Psychic Recharge with your Malamar, but you're also going to want to discard random attackers so that you can copy them with Mewtwo and Mew's Perfection ability. So a very strong card all in all. Malamar generally really benefits from the release of Professor's Research, being able to discard your hand and draw 7 cards. Mewtwo loves the discard effect. Malamar loves the discard effect, getting Psychic Energies into the discard, and also just a great consistency card. You'll notice something unique about this particular Malamar build is that it doesn't play the Jirachi engine. In fact, it just plays Dedenne GX to Dede Change and draw more cards. You're primarily going to be attacking with Pokemon GX. We do have the 1 copy of Giratina, just because it's good and nice to be able to trade off. If you start with a Mewtwo Mew, it goes down. You can go into a Giratina, Shadow Impact a couple of times, and then finish up with a tag team Pokemon at the end of the game to take your remaining prizes. And Air Balloon is a great new card out of Sword and Shield as well that gives everybody in this deck, except for, well, Trevenant and Dusknoir, essentially free retreat by reducing the retreat cost by 2. So you can slap one on a Malamar, give it free retreat. You can slap one on a Mewtwo and Mew and just have a nice little pivot there as well with your 4 copies of Switch to make sure that you can always Psychic Recharge to the targets that you want to. A couple copies of Chaotic Swell help keep the Shrine of Punishment and Power Plants at bay, which is very good as well, since your Mewtwo and Mews don't really like them too much. But if you are up against a deck that plays heavy Power Plant and ways to get around your Swell, you can always attack with your actual non-Mewtwo Pokemon like Trevenant and Dusknoir, Gengar and Mimikyu, Latios-GX, Espeon and Deoxys, or even your Megalopunny and Jigglypuff. Espeon and Deoxys here for the Cross Division GX. I really like this GX attack still. It's good in a number of situations. You just need to clear up a board. It's got damage all over the place, and I think the Espeon Deoxys is still too good not to play for that GX attack. If we wanted to, we could put something like a Mew from Unbroken Bonds in this deck in order to help shore up the mill matchup I was thinking about. You could cut the Giratina if you want to, or one other Pokemon. Maybe if you want to get rid of the Latios-GX, you could do that. Put a Mew from Unbroken Bonds in here, and then just soften up a mill player's field, and then go in with the Cross Division GX to finish off the game by taking out various Mincinos all at the same time. So that is another strategy that you could use with the Espeon Deoxys, which I really like. Some people have been playing the Lunala-GX, which has been reprinted and still standard legal, which has a GX attack which automatically knocks out one of the opponent's basic Pokemon in play, so long as it's not a GX. And Pokemon V, you know, check that box. So you can knock out a Zacian V with that. So that's another option as well. All very strong deck and a lot of fun to play, and I look forward to showing it off. More traditional Malamar is still a lot of fun to play as well. It's got a new tool in Cramorant V with a Spit Shot attack. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 160 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. One of your opponent's Pokemon. It doesn't have to be on the bench. So usually you're going to be doing it to snipe on the bench, but you get to place 160 damage wherever you want. You just discard all the energy. Not a problem for a Malamar deck, since you do have that Psychic Recharge ability to bring it all back. I decided to cut the Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team GX from this build, instead relying on the Solgaleo and Lunala-GX and the Recycle Energy, since I think that the Recycle Energy pairs very well with Cramorant V, and also I think that Solgaleo and Lunala is just a very good tank and a heavy hitter in this format, dealing 230 damage, perfect to knock out your Zacian V. So I think that that is very good as well. And with 3 copies of Switch, you're going to have a fair amount of opportunities to be able to pivot with it. So I do like that. Latios-GX is Clear Vision GX. Again, great against Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. If you can pull that off on the first turn of the game. Blacephalon's Fireworks Bomb is good as well. I think that this deck is going to be able to take advantage of that Mew and Espeon and Deoxys kind of 1-2 punch that I had talked about against the Mill decks. Hopefully you go in with the Mew from Unbroken Bonds early, using Psi Power to place damage on your opponent's field when they are playing Mill, and then try to clean up their entire field with a Cross Division GX, leaving them with almost nothing, and then maybe doing Spit Shot. You know, if you place enough damage on a Zacian, Spit Shot the Zacian for game, that could be an option to finish off the game as well. This is a Spell Tag version of the deck too, so you're going to be able to place some extra damage counters with Spell Tag, and of course the Distortion Door, taking heavy advantage of that. This version of the deck should have very positive matchups against traditional, or not traditional, against the new Mewtwo and Mew Malamar builds, like the one that I just showed off. You might notice there is no protection against psychic weakness in this deck, and that is standard for these Mewtwo and Mew versions of Malamar. So the heavy Giratina versions are going to have a field day against those Mewtwo and Mew Malamar decks. It should also have a very positive matchup against some of the Welder Mewtwo and Mew decks that we see running around, and fares pretty well against decks like Pikarom, who have been cutting back on the healing cards like Mallow and Lana that they have been playing. So I think that Giratina Malamar pretty well positioned in the meta as well, and a deck worth looking at. Let's get into some gameplay and show these decks off in action. We're going to get things kicked off with a Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck. This deck has got a lot of excitement buzzing around it, with players looking for different ways to play Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, and rightfully so. Welder has taken a little bit of a hit in explosiveness, not being able to Welder on the first turn of the game. It's got a lot of players turned off to that. Also, just the fact that Welder can be inconsistent in its own way because of the fact that you just need to draw your cards just so in order to set up. The Welder version of Mewtwo and Mew does have its benefits. The fact that you don't have to set up any evolved Pokemon. You don't need any Malamars in play. It's just very easy and explosive to get your game plan going. Looks like we are playing against a Zacian V deck, and we have got not the best opening hand, but it's totally fine. In this Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck, one of the coolest things about it is that you just don't need much in order to get going with this deck. So we will place a Psychic Energy on a Mewtwo and Mew and pass. Next turn, we're looking at a Marnie, and I can potentially get, you know, maybe Gengar and Mimikyu into play, get Gengar and Mimikyu into the discard pile. If I can find another energy for my Mewtwo and Mew, we can go in with that. I can also, you know, so I could go in with the Horror House GX. I can also Clear Vision GX if I can find my Latios-GX, prevent this Arceus Dialga and Palkia from using its Altered Creation GX. So both of those are live options for me without even getting an Inkay into play on the first turn of the game. So I think that that is one of the strengths of this version of the Malamar deck. Now the Giratina Malamar build, it's gonna really struggle if you go first and don't get your evolutions into play. It's one of the strengths of playing the Jirachi engine is that you can switch into Jirachi. If I, you know, in this opening hand, if I quick ball for Jirachi, switch into Jirachi, look for a Mysterious Treasure or something, try to get an Inkay down, attach an energy to the Giratina, and then I'm still poised to potentially get a turn 2 Shadow Impact. This version of the deck is much more low maintenance because it really just operates as a big basic deck with a little bit of an extra boost. Now my opponent is getting off to a very aggressive start here. I think that Marnie does seem pretty good, but they can just go swinging in with Brave Blade, which definitely has me a little concerned. I think I am going to switch into the Mewtwo and Mew and then Marnie instead of Research, just because their hand is so big and I want to bring them down a notch. We've got the Chaotic Swell, which is great, and I can Day-Day Change out of this, so I do really like that. We're going to bump the Stadium, check my deck real quick, get a Dedenne, and then I'm also going to get, I think, let's see, is the Latios-GX in the deck? The Latios-GX is not in the deck, so that makes my decision of what to go for on this next turn very easy. We're just looking for an energy so that I can Horror House GX and then fill my hand. So we're going to discard that and go from here. We do get the energy and we've got an Inkay, and I think I'm going to use the Aurora energy on the Mewtwo Mew, discard a Psychic and Horror House GX to bring both me and my opponent's hands up to size, and then the hope is that maybe their hand gets so big that I can bring up an Arceus Dialga and Palkia and then Poltergeist it for knockout, especially if my opponent takes a trainer card off of here. Now I would need 6 trainer cards in my opponent's hand to take a knockout, which is asking a lot. But if they do take another trainer card here, that's either showing that they've got 2 and they're going to Intrepid Sword. So I'm thinking that if I can just go for the Great Catcher and find it, the Arceus Dialga and Palkia is probably within knockout range. So we are going to aim for that with a heavy Research this turn. And I'm thinking I've got a switch. Not a lot of great pivots though, because I do not have the Air Balloon in play. So I'm just going to go get some other Pokemon and start to set them up. We could Trevenant and Dusknoir, of course. I don't really want to do that because I want to hit one of these 2 Great Catchers in the deck. And, I mean, I could Day-Day change here. I'm not feeling super confident about that because of the fact that I am kind of low on my supporters already. I've discarded 3, so I'm not super feeling using that. So I am going to Quick Ball and discard the Trevenant and Dusknoir as well. I think I'm going to start setting up a second Mewtwo and Mew. And at the very least, I can put that there. Yep, and we're going to research, hoping to find ourselves a Great Catcher. We did not find the Great Catcher. That really hurts because I really think that they've got so many cards in their hand that I would really easily take a knockout there. So let's see what we can do. We've got Inkay, we've got an energy to Psychic Recharge onto the Mewtwo, which is great. So we're going to discard this Ultra Necrozma here too, and just get ourselves a second Malamar into our hands because we're going to evolve that up next turn. And start loading up this benched guy with some energy so that I can maybe copy that Ultra Necrozma out of the discard pile next turn, maybe Photon Geyser for something big. Now, they have not used Ultra Creation yet, so I'm probably pretty safe as far as, you know, weathering a one-hit knockout. I'm probably not getting one-hit knocked out this upcoming turn. I could switch and attack with this Mewtwo and Mew here on the bench, which does give me the option to potentially Psychic Recharge a little bit more next turn onto this, and then go from there. I think that we're probably fine just to pinch the switch, save it, and Poltergeist for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, there was only 5. So we would have missed the knockout. 230 damage there. That's fine then. And we'll just take that. And if they use Ultra Creation this upcoming turn, I'm pretty confident that we can find the energy we need. I think just 1 Psychic Recharge would help. Shrine of Punishment is going to be huge, though, if they play it. Shrine of Punishment would bring my Mewtwo and Mew into knockout range for the Zacian V. And the scary thing about this is that they just put this game on a 2-turn clock if they use Ultra Creation GX. They use Ultra Creation GX, then they take a knockout with Zacian V on my Mewtwo, then they take 1 more knockout on a Malamar and something, and this game is over. That being said, since I did take the first knockout, really swung the momentum of this game with the Horror House GX, I am also on a 2-turn clock to win. If I could just knock out the Arceus Dialga Palkia and then knock out a Zacian V, I am in good shape because I've only got 5 prizes remaining. So let's see what we can do this turn. I did get that Ultra Necrozma into the discard pile, which is very good. And I've got the Aurora Energy right here. So I can put another Psychic Energy into the discard pile with that and just hope to find myself a Malamar. That's all I can really bet on here. We need to find that Malamar off of this Marnie. So we're going to grab that and Quick Ball just to thin the deck even more. It's fine. And by grabbing the Mewtwo, we actually are going to send it to the bottom of the deck with Marnie. So that's good. And we can go here, discard that. And this should be, let's see, do a little math. If I have 3 Psychic Energies on, copying what, 3 times, or 260? Do I need 1 more for Photon Geyser? Yeah, 8 times 3 is, yeah, 24, 26. So we're close. I do need to get double Psychic Recharge onto that. So that is a lot to ask to get this knockout on the Arceus Dialga and Palkia. But we've got it. We've got the double Psychic Recharge, so we are in there. However, I've got the Stealthy Hood on my active, which is just a little bit annoying because I cannot preserve the the Aurora Energy on it, and I do have to Psychic Recharge twice in order to take this knockout. But that being said, could be difficult for my opponent to take this knockout. They have to Shrine. They don't have the Vitality Band right now, so we're hoping that I'm going to be able to clean this game up somehow. We'll put these guys down, and we're going to take a knockout I can actually just Venom Shot for game, but actually I'm going to need a lot of energy. So yeah, we're not super close to doing that. We will take this knockout though. 340 damage, discarding 4 Psychic Energy. Big KO there. And I just got 2 more prizes left to take the game. I've already used my GX attack. And we don't have a lot of good stuff going on in this hand. I think I've discarded my other Dedenne. So could be a little bit stressful trying to close this game out. So long as my opponent doesn't take a knockout of my Mewtwo and Mew, we should be square. A lot of these Arceus Palkia decks are playing Vitality Band now in order to fix this math. You also can play Shrine. So the big deal about this though is if they take this knockout on the Mewtwo and Mew and they place the Shrine this turn, it's actually going to be the Shrine of Punishment that takes the knockout and not the Zacian V's Brave Blade. And because of that, they're not going to take a bonus prize. They would actually only take 3 prizes, which is situationally useful. It means that they would not be able to knock out a Malamar or something like that for game. And it looks like they don't have it. Just 260 damage. This is huge, and this is another reason why the Vitality Bands have been seeing a lot of play. And we've got a Switch too. So with 3 energy and a Switch, we're going to be dealing 260 damage, which is enough for a knockout, and that should be game here with the double Psychic Recharge, the attachment from hand, and another Photon Geyser coming right back in. And we're just seeing the flow of this deck with the air balloons, the heavy switch count, and all just going at it. And that Ultra Necrozma is just absolutely huge with the Photon Geyser, giving this deck its much needed one-hit KO potential. I did also have the option to Venom Shot the Dedenne for game, so a lot of different ways to close that game out, but not losing that Mewtwo, not losing that energy was huge there, and a big swing of momentum for sure. So that is the Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck in action. We're going to give Giratina Malamar a spin. Giratina Malamar is cool because it gets to play like a non-GX deck, and you get to play Cramorant V, who I think is just a really cool card in this format. 2 great attacks. Beat Catch for 1 colorless energy gets you any 2 cards out of your deck. And then, of course, Spit Shot for 3 colorless. Get to deal 160 damage wherever you want on your opponent's side of the field. And there he is. Look at that handsome bird. It's just an awesome card. Now, one of the troubling things about Giratina Malamar in this new standard format is the fact that you have a little bit of a harder time setting up. And wow, we are playing against a Gardevoir and Sylveon deck. I have not seen one of those in what feels like ages. But you do have a hard time setting up on that first turn going first because you can't play a supporter. So it does give other more aggressive decks an opportunity to really run you off the table, which can be very distressing. So let's go in and get ourselves an Inkay because we want to thin the deck because I want to find ourselves a Mysterious Treasure or something like that. We do not. I can maybe Acro Bike. But we're kind of seeing that case in point here. I've got an Inkay and Baby Blacephalon potentially, but I don't really want Baby Blacephalon here. We're going to want someone who's capable of dealing, you know, maybe a little bit more damage. I've got Switch and a Spell Tag. I don't want to have to choose between those. They're both good. I think that Switch probably the most meaningful, but it's looking like next turn, you know, we might just be going in with a Beat Catch to try and set up further. So we've got that, and I'm going to go energy onto Cramorant V, Inkay, and then pass to my opponent. But these turn ones have been very challenging for the Giratina Malamar deck because you still want to go first. It makes a big difference. If you're playing against a deck like, you know, Arceus Palkia, I think that giving them the opportunity to go first and get that energy attachment down. You want to have 2 turns to be able to get that Latios-GX clear vision, which is proved to be a little bit more difficult than you would think as far as getting that clear vision going. And I think that one of the major benefits of the Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck is that it just does less with more Well, it does, no, the other way. It does more with less, right? It takes, yes, this deck does less with more. But the Mewtwo and Mew Malamar deck, you only really need, one energy in order to Horror House GX, which is a very powerful swing of momentum. You only need 2 energy in order to Poltergeist, which can do, a lot of damage, even taking some surprise one-hit KOs from time to time. So it is definitely very very different playing the 2 different versions of the deck and trying to get the 3 energy that you need while not being able to play a supporter on your first turn is proven to be pretty challenging, especially while dealing with, aggressive attacks like Alter Creation. So we are going to use this switch. So let's go get ourselves Mysterious Treasure, and Tag Purge should be very good against this deck. So I think that we're going to lean on that a little bit and then probably get rid of that to just get ourselves another Inkay into play. We've got that. We've got the Latios-GX, and I'm thinking, maybe we Spit Shot this next turn. That's like not the worst thing, I don't think. So we'll Psychic Recharge onto the Cramorant, and maybe get ourselves a turn 2 Spit Shot, which is not bad. Turn 2, 100. Maybe not. Maybe we're not quite getting there. Maybe a turn 2 Beat Catch. I kind of like all the cards in this hand, so yeah, I think I'm just going to Acro Bike. And we do find the Psychic Energy, so we are live for a turn 2 Spit Shot, and then I've got everything I need to continue setting this deck up. I think I'm just going to kind of slam into that Gardevoir and Sylveon for 160. Hope that my opponent does not go GX my Cramorant this next turn. That would be pretty tough. They've got Green's Exploration. That's good. So no Mallow and Lana. And they do have the Psychic, Fairy Charm Psychic attached to that active. Fortunately, I do have some non-Psychic Pokemon like the Cramorant V, which can deal a decent chunk of damage while kind of evading knockout in return, unless, of course, they use their GX, which I do expect them to do, and they did not, which opens up the door for me to respond potentially with another, with another attack. If I just find a switch off of this research, then I could finish off that Gardevoir and Sylveon on the bench. And I love that we're using Cramorant right now. This is just Cramorant's time to shine for sure. So we've got this, and I think we just go for it. Tag Purge also a little bit safer. Double Psychic Recharge there. Could get the Tag Purge. But I love the idea of just ripping this switch. And going for it. So then we just take that knockout and we can start Tag Purging. The difference is, either way I need a switch in order to attack. So the question is Tag Purge better or is Spit Shot better? And I think that probably Spit Shot, just take that out the game while we can. It's probably better. So we're going to go here and just research that Giratina away. And sure enough, we did get the Escape Board and not the switch. I was like, what are the odds? So I think that we can go use Escape Board, retreat into the Jirachi, hope to find a switch. That or I'm using Beat Catch this next turn. So I think that's probably the case here. I give Viridian to thin my deck a little bit more. Which is probably fine. Let's go Escape Board on the Cramorant, retreat into the Jirachi. We're committing to this line of play now. Can Viridian get one more energy out of my deck, though I don't want to give them the option to do that. Well, it's fine. Now we're going all in on this line, looking for the switch. There's 2 switch left in my deck, so a decent shot of getting it. We did not. That's okay. Do have Ordinary Rod. Grab Quick Ball here. Do hate to lose my Jirachi that has got. Just gonna go Psychic Recharge. I think give up 3 prizes there. If I find my Great Catcher, I can bring up that and I can Tag Purge it. Do think that Tag Purge probably the stronger option. So at this point, we are going to start charging that up. And then I'm probably fine with another Inkay in play. And we will just pass to my opponent. The Latios-GX has free retreat, so we're cool. We're going to lose the Jirachi. But this Cramorant, not going to be the easiest thing to gust up. You know, it's not Great Catcher compatible. So they will have to double custom catcher that Cramorant to finish it off for only 2 prizes. And having the option to just always be able to gust something on my opponent's side is very strong for us. Now they've got the Omastar in their deck. Wow. I've not seen that lately. So that is in the discard pile now. So we're hoping that that is just not going to be an option for them. And then I've got the Tag Purge incoming. Another Malamar in play. And let's just go for that Tag Purge. So we've got that. And I can start using Psychic Recharge onto anybody else, really. I mean, I can start charging up an Espeon Deoxys. We could go in and, you know, maybe get ourselves a cross division for game situation, which could be pretty strong, to be honest. If we just put enough damage on their side of the board between Tag Purge and other things. So that seems pretty good. I think that cross division, what, 20? I mean, we start to charge, how many do I have? 2 in the discard pile, so a decent shot of being able to charge that up, get it into a good place. That being said, Tag Purge is just like super good right now. So let's just kind of like wait on the Espeon Deoxys. I think between Tag Purge and the Cramorant, we probably have a lot of options to be able to finish this off. And my opponent does have, you know, 5 prizes left to take. So we're going to go double Psychic Recharge onto the Cramorant. And I could just finish off. I almost just want to. That way it guarantees they cannot use the Magical Miracle this next turn. While the Cramorant's here, just take advantage of it. And that way it kind of gets cleared off my bench as well. And then I just go in with Latios Tag Purge from there with 3 prizes remaining. And they probably don't have a great way to deal with that. So let's just go in with Cramorant. He's going to do his job. And yeah, seems great. And I think that I'm comfortable with the rest of my board state. So we're just going to deal 160 damage there, take that out. We don't want it to get healed or anything like that. It would be very annoying for our deck to deal with. And then if I can, at some point, just soften up this Gardevoir and Sylveon, get the damage to stick, I can come swinging in with my Solgaleo and Lunala. All I need is to get spell tag damage or something to be able to stick. Oh no, it's got a Psychic Charm, so that is going to be a never mind for me. But we can kind of, you know, I can get maybe the... Oh, I was also mistaken that I'm not going to be tag purging that thing anyway. So, yeah, the Psychic Charm on it. I had forgotten about that, but we made the right call. Cramorant, very good. And it looks like they are trying to maybe set up that Omastar now with the Fossil on the bench. And they've got Great Catcher, so that's fine. Latios here, you know, all he really needs to do is get that, you know, spell tag damage to stick. And he's going to use Magical Miracle, so we are going to be softening up this thing for sure. And we don't have a way around the spell tag, that's or the Psychic Charm, so that is unfortunate. Though I can deal 160 damage with Cramorant. It's a possibility. No great retreaters on my side of the field other than Cramorant with the Escape Board. So it's looking like that's who it is. And we might just start slinging these Giratinas their way and see if that is going to be enough to potentially finish off the game. Now, my opponent is at 3 prizes remaining, but Giratina just does more damage than anything else. So I think that we're fine to just go up with Giratina and just throw that at him. See how that goes. And discard that guy. Sure. Take the final Psychic Energy out of the deck. And let's just get going with our Giratina. Distortion Door. And we've got this double Psychic Recharge. And just hope that my opponent doesn't have the healing to be able to play out of this. And then Cramorant, useful for being able to hit through that Psychic Charm too. So we'll place that there. And Shadow Impact. Potentially, we could start laying some energy onto our Espeon Deoxys since Espeon Deoxys with 6 energy is capable of placing that 20 damage counters, which does get through the Psychic Charm because it prevents all damage done to the fairy Pokemon, not all effects of attacks. Now, we could play Indeedee in this deck. Obviously, Indeedee is, you know, not going to be doing as much for the healing in this build, particularly, because Indeedee, you know, it's got that ability which allows you to heal off 20 from your active Pokemon. Not as important in this deck since you're primarily going to be attacking with Giratina. But Indeedee does have a pretty decent attack and, of course, is very good against Pokemon that happen to have a lot of energy on them. It does 60 damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So in this case, we would be dealing a ton, actually like dealing a one-hit knockouts, I believe, which would be rad. But we don't really have that as an option. Looks like they've got another Omastar. I was not expecting 2 Omastars. Here comes Lugia GX. So if my opponent's able to tag switch and maybe Lost Purge some of these energy, that would be not good because they don't have, they can't Lost Purge. So it looks like actually they're just going to have to attack because they've already used their GX attack. But yeah, so no Lost Purge, but they are just trying to kind of like, you know, hedge their bets, I guess, as far as this not getting knocked out next turn. And do I have a switch left? I should have plenty of switches left, which means that I could pretty safely promote this Malamar and research into the bottom of my deck, hoping to just find a switch. I've got Cramorant who can finish off that Gardevoir Sylveon on my opponent's bench, and we should be good to go. So let's see here. Take a look into the deck. What are we looking at as far as switch cards? I've got 2 in a 11-card deck. We should be okay. But you know, I've seen crazier things happen. So let's, I guess we might as well put that down. And we are going to put that there. And there is no reason to do anything else. Let's Great Catcher, I suppose. And we're going to go for it. Find the switch, and we get there with Cramorant V, and we got there. Cramorant V. Fantastic Cramorant star of the show with the Giratina Malamar deck. Getting through all of those Psychic Charms and sniping for big knockouts on Gardevoir and Sylveon. So fantastic job, Cramorant. Well done. And that's Giratina Malamar for you. So both versions of Malamar, I think, are very cool. I like that Cramorant kind of fits right into this Giratina Malamar build. I really like, you know, as far as comparing back and forth, I really do like the Mewtwo and Malamar deck, though. And I think that this deck is just very consistent. I love that it plays Dedenne. I love that you can use Horror House GX to draw cards, not only to disrupt your opponent. And I think that the fact that you can use Mewtwo and Mew in this deck, one of the best Pokemon cards ever printed, really just gives you some flexibility to take matchups. And you can tech for specific things with various Pokemon that you include. And there's a lot of Pokemon that I didn't play here that you could play. You could play Dragonite GX, which does 270 damage. You could play that Lunala-GX, like I said, that automatically knocks out one of your opponent's Pokemon. You can play the Mew from Unbroken Bond so that you can go Mew and Espeon and Deoxys. You can play the Baby Blacephalon. So once your opponent knocks out one of the Mewtwo's, then you can snipe for 12. So many different things you could do with this deck, and it is very consistent. It uses Marnie well. It can limit hand size with Trevenant and Dusknoir. I mean, there's just a lot of really cool stuff that this version of the deck can do. As far as the Giratina Malamar deck, I think this deck is fine. I think that it does really struggle with the no supporter on turn 1 rule that is coming into effect in the Sword and Shield format. But it is strong and has its own thing going on, and I think does make great use of Cramorant V. So that's going to be it for the video. 2 different ways to play Malamar. What is your favorite way to play Malamar? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to check out FullGripGames.com. Supporting Full Grip directly supports the store, directly supports the channel, and directly supports my content. So thank you so much for supporting the store. It supports everything that I do here on Tricky Jim. We've got a new buy list up on FullGripGames.com as well. If you want to send us your singles, you can get some extra cash in your pocket by doing so. Make sure to check out the buy list. I've got a video up on FullGripGames.com on how that works. Also, make sure to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday. You all rock. Thank you so much for being a part of the Tricky Jim community. Have a great day and take it easy. Peace.